WCIA 3 News at noon.
Good afternoon, I'm Jen Lask. Traffic is still backed up on Kirby Avenue west of Prospect. It's one of today's top stories. A car crashed into the traffic signals cabinet around 2:30 this morning. No one was hurt, but as a result, temporary stop signs have been set up to make it a four-way stop. Officials are encouraging people to find other routes this morning, and in the meantime, they're working on restoring power to the traffic signals.
We'll just try our best to get it up and running to move traffic through, and then we'll probably plan on replacing this with a more modern, fully equipped signal controller like it was before.
Crews are hoping to get the lights back on by the afternoon rush hour. Federal agencies will be working today to try to figure out what caused a plane to go down near Springfield on Tuesday. Sangamon County Coroner Cinda Edwards, former Springfield Mayor Frank Edwards, and their family friend John Evans died in the crash. The FAA arrived on the scene Tuesday before being joined by the National Transportation Safety Board yesterday. The airport tower at Abraham Lincoln Capitol Airport says they got word from the plane that they were having trouble on their approach because of weather. Sangamon County Sheriff Jack Campbell says his office and Springfield Police are continuing to help. Campbell has been sworn in as the acting coroner. A man has been indicted on murder charges for allegedly killing another man. 28-year-old Carlos Blue was shot near South Wesley Street near East Monroe in Springfield and later died. Bruce Britt is facing charges of murder, unlawful possession of a weapon by a felon, and possession of ammunition by a felon. He faces 45 years to life in prison if convicted. The family of U of I scholar Yinging Zheng is suing university social workers for a second time. Zheng was kidnapped and killed by Brent Christensen in 2017, and he was sentenced to life in prison. The Zheng family previously sued U of I for negligence, and the lawsuit claimed Christensen told two social workers about his mental health issues and mentioned killing himself and others, and that they didn't report any of that, so Christensen was able to carry out the kidnapping as a result. A federal judge threw that lawsuit out last month, arguing they couldn't be held responsible for Christensen's actions. The Zheng family just filed a new lawsuit with the same claims in state court. A man from Ogden is going to prison after being convicted for driving drunk for the sixth time. Adam Bryant has several DUIs in Vermilion County stemming back to 2002. His most recent conviction was from a crash that happened in Ogden in February of last year. He had alcohol and what was suspected to be marijuana in the car, and his blood alcohol level was 3 times the legal limit. One substance abuse counselor we talked to says it's important for people dealing with addiction to look for help.
Recovery we like to say, is an action word, and it's not done alone. There has to be support, and you have to be involved. You have to do the work to remain in recovery, or else relapse is inevitable.
Brian was sentenced to 7.5 years in prison for this recent DUI. Danville's mayor says one of the biggest issues facing the city isn't crime, but the perception of it. Mayor Ricky Williams Jr. says most of the crime in the city isn't random and that suspects usually know the victims. That was the case for the triple murder last week. As for addressing the crime they do have, he says now that the department is fully staffed, the police department, excuse me, they're going to start rolling out what's called pre-active units in May.
They will not be on a beat. They will not be running from call to call. It will allow them time to build relationships, greater relationships with our citizens. It will allow them to be proactive in areas where we know that we're having problems.
Williams says they plan to install cameras in parts of the city by June at the latest. 4,700 underage people were nearly registered to vote thanks to a glitch in the Secretary of State's automatic voter registration system. But a different agency was able to fix the error before it went too far. It was caused by the same problem that led to nearly 500 non-U.S. citizens being registered to vote. And these people were under 18 and said they would still be under 18 when the next election came around, but the program still tried to register them. Even people who opted out of registering were also registered anyway. The State Board of Elections caught the problem before they were officially registered, and they sent out letters explaining what happened. And we have new information in the race for Macon County Sheriff. Tens of thousands of ballots will be recounted to decide the results of a race that happened more than a year ago. Jim Root ran against Tony Brown for sheriff in 2018. When Root lost the election by 1 vote, he took the matter to court. Now, both parties have agreed to a hand recount, and Brown's attorney says the Macon County clerk is expected to do the hand recount over the next few weeks.
Right now, we're just awaiting a judge's order on how to proceed with a recount, when to proceed with a recount, and the rules regarding how we will, handle the recount. So that's where we're at this moment.
Tanner says if he gets an order from a judge to start this process, it will take weeks to count over 40,000 ballots. We're continuing to follow developments with a Target 3 investigation in Champaign County. We spoke with a woman whose delinquent property taxes were sold in error. After months of anxiety, Anita Pilarski is breathing a sigh of relief, but she says she won't be completely comfortable until she gets a final letter from the treasurer. Target 3's Paul Cicchini has more.
I was relieved for the first time since October that I'm going to get my house back. And I know that the ball is rolling.
Anita Pilarski is resting easier after learning the process is in motion to reverse the errant sale of her property taxes.
When I read the letter, it was just like, okay, this is finally going to start to become back to my house.
But she wishes it never made it this far. You may recall her taxes were paid in June, in full, before the county told her in October, and again in November they were late, before selling what it deemed to be delinquent taxes in December. Pilarski got a letter on Monday formally notifying her the sale was in error, along with an apology.
He knew about it, or the county knew about it multiple times. They could have had this fixed easily, and I think that them dropping the ball a number of times just kept adding to my stress and adding to the frustration. And no, I don't feel that that is sincere.
We didn't stop digging after talking to the deputy treasurer last week. We filed an open records request under the Freedom of Information Act to get additional information for administrative sales in error or a property sold for delinquent taxes. We received several emails, and included in the response from the treasurer was a partial denial, stating our request was, quote, being denied because no properties were being sold for delinquent taxes.
All right, thank you, Paul. So it's been cloudy today, but what's the weekend going to be like?
Things actually changing up a little bit for us over the weekend. Now, it's not going to be the entire weekend that brings us more of the sunshine. I think we're still going to see some clouds around and maybe even a tiny chance of a light sprinkle or snowflake as we head into your Saturday. But here, as we head into today and tomorrow and most of Saturday, more of the theme of what we have been noticing here recently with the clouds and the colder weather. But we are going to also talk about that warm up along with the sunshine. We'll have all the details for you coming up in your full forecast next.
The 7th